Connect group gatherings. It's very important that you understand kind of where we're going with the connection group meetings. And there should be a weekly meeting, a weekly study that goes on in all of our connection groups. One of the first things we need to understand there is, first of all, there's a certain duration that we're looking for. We suggest 1.5 hours for a connection group meeting. Anywhere between an hour to 2 hours. I find that an hour is not really quite enough to get everything done that we want to get done in a connection group gathering. But 2 hours is stretching it a bit. So, the target is an hour and a half, but no longer than 2 hours. And again, make sure you start on time and you end on time. You should find a location that is a comfortable setting for open discussion. Sometimes we get into places where there's all kinds of commotion going on around us, and we really cannot connect comfortably together, and we can't discuss things easily. I know that children are nice to have in a group, but sometimes during that Bible discussion period, if children are there, they can be, not always, but they can be sort of disruptive. So you need to think that through that when you discover a location or look for a location. The other thing is this. If you go into a coffee shop, you need to make sure there's one where, it's quiet enough that you can discuss things together. So just think about those things when you pick your location. Semesters. One of the things we're trying to do is in the fall and in the winter time, we want to have kind of a relaunch, a time for people to kind of get, hey, we're going to sign up again. We're going to get engaged in a real way. What we'll find is people will be joining the church during the period of when groups are meeting. And a lot of those people are not going to be aware that there are connection groups available to them. So what we encourage you to do is to kind of work with us on a break when we're going to have a re-emphasis of the groups. And that will be leading up to the fall. Will begin in September, where we'll have kind of a sign-up day. And also in January, when we're going to then have our winter-spring session. So you get the idea. There'll be these 2 semesters, but that doesn't keep you from meeting for other types of things during the break periods. There should be a group restart and enroll participants at the beginning of each semester, and that's what we're talking about right there. Consistency. Do not cancel your meetings because some people are missing or the leader is not available. Every group should focus on having someone who can carry on with the group during those periods of time when the leader or other people are missing. One of the things that will really hinder the church or the group meeting is when you are going really well and then all of a sudden you just take a break for whatever reason. So we're encouraging you, don't cancel because people are missing or the leader's not available. And perhaps you don't have anybody that's really qualified or feels comfortable leading the Bible discussion the way you're leading it. Well, gather together for some other type of thing. Have them gather together and pray together. Have them gather together and encourage one another and talk about how they're living and dealing with life. Those kinds of things do not need to have a Bible teacher there to lead that kind of a discussion. Also, make sure you have a group agreement. This establishes the meeting plan and the guidelines for the meeting. It's very important that the group understands what they're there for and how they're going to function. This means you would establish some things like what goes on in the group stays in the group. And I'm talking about not activity so much as what's discussed in the group of a personal nature, which will happen as people start to feel more comfortable in sharing. That those things should stay there. How you're going to handle childcare if it's needed. Those types of things, where you're going to meet, the time frame that you're going to meet, all those things should be included in the group agreement. And what happens if someone's not going to be participating in the group? They can't make it that night. Well, then they should inform somebody in the group about that or let the leader know, and that should be included in a group agreement. And so those are the kind of things that should be in a weekly study. Now, in the activities that will happen during the weekly study, these are the basic things that will occur in a group meeting. They'll be sharing. This is the time when people kind of get to know each other It can be over some snacks or something at the beginning of the time together. It could be an icebreaker for those groups that still really don't know one another. Can be anything from a very simple question like, "What's your favorite color and why?" or "What's your favorite car and why?" or "If you could be a car, what would you be and why?" Those kinds of things could be asked. Just really simple, kind of fun icebreakers. You got to keep it short because you don't want that to get out of hand. But then as you go along in your discussion, sometimes you want to have icebreakers that really dig into people getting to think about the Bible discussion. Worship should also be part. Worship is exalting God and glorifying Him. It will be anything from even singing if you want to, but it could be just reading a psalm together or praying together and giving prayers of praise and thanksgiving to God. And so we need to make sure we maintain a vertical focus on our weekly gathering. Bible discussion is another thing that's going to happen. This will probably take 50% of your time together. And then there'll be caring and prayer time. It's where you meet together and you share burdens and you talk about it. But one of the things we want to discuss or talk about and pray about in those things is how do we apply what God has spoken to us about through His Word in our lives this week. We should pray for one another in those areas. Business planning and business and planning will not occur at every meeting, but it will occur at some meetings. During some meetings, you will want to say, "Hey, here's what's going on. Let's plan this event," or whatever. Missions planning will also be part of this. This is where you discuss opportunities for local and distant missions involvement. So those are the kind of things that would be engaged.